Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Here we are in Rockhill Furnace, Pennsylvania, here at the East Broad Top Railroad. As you can see, you got one of their trains there. Now unfortunately, this happened all last minute. We were supposed to be on a steam train for our train excursion, but they're still maintaining it. There was a cracked driver's center and it's not going to be ready till later this year. So we still got a lot of cool stuff to look at. So yeah, let's go ahead and get over to the place and turn in our tickets. Look at that rail yard. And the old buildings. Look at that. Like it's Western, like, you know, like Wild West kind of style. Like all of it. There's a trolley. Look, it's got a person catcher on the front. So if you get hit by it, you got a little net. Look at that. And see, this is standard gauge. See how much wider this track is? See how much wider the trolley track is? This is standard. That's narrow. So they got, those are journal boxes. So in there would be a bit of like brass that the axle rubs against, and they would have to lube those up. That's where the term hot box comes from, because if that gets too hot, then you'd have a problem. But they don't use that type of bearing anymore. Those are old bearings. This big old knuckle coupler. It's like a concrete wedged in it. Look at that.
So they couldn't even connect anymore.
Well, they can probably pull that out if they needed to. No, you got dual gauge track here. So you got standard and then narrow in the middle. That's why you have 3 rails here.
The two of us will be taking you on a tour of the shops today. We're going to start here. We will go across the tracks. We'll stop. We'll talk a little bit about the rolling stock that's here and the buildings, and then we'll take you into the roundhouse, and then finish up the tour down in the machine shop. We like to think of ourselves as a living museum, but we also have to remember we're a working railroad. So things aren't quite the way they are in a museum. Footing is stable everywhere you're going, but you need to be aware because you can trip over rails. There might be a board laying someplace. You have to be aware of your surroundings and watch where you're stepping. So please be careful. We will see a couple open pits today, inspection pits. Okay, the bottom of none of the pits is on the tour. Okay? Even if you pay me extra, I'm not allowed to let you see the bottom of the pits.
You don't want that stuff on your clothes anyway.
We have a perfect record as far as visitors falling into the pits, and we want to make sure that it stays that way. Okay? We have had one accident where we had one person fall into the pits, but that doesn't count because that was a tour guide. And I'd say that because number one, he did not get hurt, and number two, he was our most experienced guide at the time, and he was doing a private tour for the editor of Trains magazine, so he's never lived it down either.
Walking over train tracks. Train tracks. Look at all the train cars. Crazy switch right there.
East Broad Top was chartered in 1856 as a railroad. Construction started in 1872. There was a gap there. That minor social hiccup called the Civil War delayed construction. Okay, but in 1872 they got started, and by 1874 they had 33 miles of trackway from Mount Union to Orbizonia, and then from Orbizonia up to Robertsdale on top of the Broad Top Mountain. The whole idea was to bring coal off the mountain to a new ironworks that they were building right over there, on the other side of the tracks, okay, in Rockhill. It was a state-of-the-art facility for the time, and they needed a fuel source, they needed coal. They had been making iron here since the middle 1700s, but they were using charcoal as a fuel source, so all the trees were cut down, okay? And they needed a more efficient fuel source, and the coal was on the mountain, so they mined it on the mountain, brought it down here to run the ironworks. That worked very well from 1874 until the ironworks closed in 1908. The reason they closed was because what was state-of-the-art and modern in 1870 had been passed by other technologies by 1900. So in 1908, the ironworks closed. The railroad then had to make a decision. Were they going to close with the ironworks, or were they going to continue to haul coal? They decided to continue to haul coal, to modernize and become a coal hauling railroad. So from 1908 until 1956, they were grinding coal on the Broad Top Mountain, taking it all the way to Mount Union, where they transferred it to the Pennsylvania Railroad, and it could be shipped anywhere in the world from there. And they also had customers that they didn't have to transfer the coal. They had customers on the line that they were servicing as well. Mainly the three biggest customers were the brickyards that opened up in Mount Union. There was an industry in Mount Union at the time to bake fire brick that were used in the steel making process. Okay, and they were manufacturing them. Three of the 5 largest brickworks in the world at one time operated in Mount Union, a town with about 4,000 people in it. Okay, so that lasted until 1956, at which time industry, the fire bricks plant mainly, switched over to natural gas and oil as a heat source. Industry was going that direction. The railroads were switching from steam to diesel, and therefore bottom kind of fell out of the coal market, and the railroad could not survive that. So in 1956, they closed. The railroad was sold to a scrap dealer from Indiana, Pennsylvania, by the name of Nick Kowalczyk. And the Kowalczyk Salvage Company made their money scrapping railroads. But for some reason or other, Nick never scrapped this railroad. He just didn't do it, and we're awfully glad that he didn't. It sat dormant for about 4 years, and in 1960, he started hauling tourists on it. They were having a bicentennial over in Orbizonia and Rockhill, and they asked him if they would bring out a locomotive to display during their parade, and he did them one better. He fixed up the locomotive, opened up a little bit of track, and started hauling tourists. That lasted from 1960 until 2011, at which time they lost their last steam locomotive. You know, steam locomotives only work for so long, and then they have to be torn down and rebuilt. Very expensive process, and the Kowalczyk family did not want to invest that kind of money into the locomotive. So when the last one was done, they closed the railroad in 2011. It lay dormant here for about 9 years. In 2020, it was sold to a non-profit group called the East Broad Top Foundation. They bought about 25 miles of track and all the rolling stock on that was here in this complex, as well as the buildings themselves. Everything that you see around here has happened since 2020. All the track has been rebuilt. The buildings, a lot of the buildings have had extensive repairs done, and we're up and going again. We've started to lay new track. I was just talking to I got an email from the guy that's the head of the volunteers that are working on track, And according to him, this year the volunteers have laid 6,500 over a mile of new track headed south. The goal is to get to Saltillo in the next year or so that we can run trains that way. The reason we want to go to Saltillo is there's a Y in Saltillo where we can turn the train around. Right here, it is an 8-stall roundhouse. It's been added to several times. Started out as 4 stalls, and they've doubled the size and widened it as the equipment got larger. The shed roof that you see on this end originally housed the bus farm. In the 1920s, the railroad operated a bus line that went from Hagerstown, Maryland to both State College and Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Oh, right here?
So all the trains would be in the sheds.
Oh, I got
All the doors are like little train houses. They would go onto the turntable, spin them around, and then out to whatever job they had to do. Look at that. That is a turntable. That's big. Gotta make sure you line the turntable if you're driving a train. Otherwise you end up in the pit. Don't ask me how I know. There's a choo-choo. Look at that choo-choo. You're on camera.
Okay. This is the 8-stall roundhouse for the East Broad Top. Not very well lit. They depended upon a lot of sunlight. There's a lot of windows in this place. We actually have a group of volunteers that call themselves the glass rattlers, and every work weekend and every work week, all they do is replace glass. They had a sort of a celebration here last winter because they determined that they were halfway done. They've only been working for 20 years on it. Okay, and if you work 1 weekend a month for 20 years, okay, you can replace about 2,000 panes of glass. First one was delivered in 1911, and that's number 12 sitting out here on the tracks. Okay. Each locomotive was a little bit bigger. 12, 14's a little bit bigger than 12, 15's a little bit bigger than 14, until you get to 18, which is our largest locomotive. It weighs in at 83 tons. Okay. Number 12, our smallest locomotive, weighs in at 56 tons. Behind the initials M1, there's a compartment there that has a generator in it. The gas engine runs the generator. The generator sends electricity to 4 traction motors, 1 on each axle, and that's what moves the machine.
Yeah, cool little blimp-powered rail car. Blimp motor rail car thing. Only one in the world. So an interesting fact about these two sheds, the one on the left is original, the one on the right has been restored, and when they restored it, they actually had to jack it up out of the ground because it had sunk due to several tons of train parts being stored inside of it.
We're about to go into the repair facilities for the East Broad Top. The Smithsonian says this is the best example, most complete example of a machine shop railroad repair facility in the world for this era. Okay, there are a lot of other machine shops, or you can see demonstrations of belt drive systems and machinery like this, but we're complete. And that's the East Broad Top's main claim to fame. Everything that is here, none of it was brought in for display. Everything that was here in 1956 when it was an operating railroad. The only exception to that is a couple of the diesel switchers that we use to move things around, and the boxcar that's over here on the siding. Yeah. I told you I missed that in my initial talk, so let me fill you in on the boxcar. East Broad Top is narrow gauge, means the rails are 36 inches apart. Standard gauge is 4 feet 8.5 inches, and if anybody wants to sit down on a bench, please make use of the bench. Okay. If you're shipping any kind of a commodity, between a narrow gauge and a standard gauge railroad, you've got to transload the freight because the machinery, the cars won't operate on the other guy's track. So in Mount Union, everything that was coming down here had to be transloaded, and vice versa. Everything that went out had to be transloaded in Mount Union. And it were those costs that killed most of the narrow gauge railroads. East Broad Top came up with a rather unique solution. First of all, what they hauled most was coal. And when you're in the coal business, you have to mine it, clean it, and ship it. And what the East Broad Top did was put their cleaning plant in Mount Union. So they would haul unclean coal to Mount Union and clean it there. When you clean coal, what you're doing is you're separating the coal from the rock and the clay that came out of the ground with it. Okay? And they would do that in Mount Union. And in Mount Union, they have a dual gauge system. They can handle both standard and narrow gauge cars in that yard. So it didn't matter. There were no transfer costs for coal because they could just run a standard gauge boxcar in and fill it up. And if they needed to fill a narrow gauge, they'd run that in right beside it and fill that up. They have logs would be hauled to Mount Union and run under the timber transfer. They drop a chain down, wrap it around the entire boxcar right off the trucks. The only thing that holds them together is a pin with the car sitting on the pin. Okay, so you lift the car up, it's separated. Roll the standard gauge trucks out, roll a set of narrow gauge trucks underneath it, set it back down, do the same thing in the back, and now you can take that standard gauge boxcar on narrow gauge tracks. And that's how the East Broad Top beat the transfer costs.
Because they don't really want folks taking pictures much, and I don't know if it's back here at the moment, but they are working on it. So that's why we've got it roped off the way they do. We normally have a little bit more space to wander, but today we're streaking that bit.
They have a drive pulley and an idler pulley connected to each machine. One drive pulley is on the machine. The idler pulley may be at the machine or up on the shaft. But if the belt is connected to the idler pulley, it's turning, but the machine isn't working. And if you turn around there, Blair will show you, he's spinning the one wheel.
I'm going to demonstrate the hand thing because I didn't bring my gloves, so when I get done with this, my hands are ready. So this is the idler pulley.
That's the idler pulley.
I'm going to reach over here to my on-off switch, which is this 4-foot lever, and it's going to, those two fingers sticking up would actually pick the belt up, slide it over. Now this one's going to run, and I've got a pump down here. This is a hydraulic press, so I am now working the pump, and this guy would fall silent until I was done and turned off my off switch. There was no emergency oh my God switch. There was no can you please stop the steam locomotive quickly switch. There was nothing. There was everything coasted to a stop. So you can imagine safety.
Like, look at all these belts. Like, everything in this shop was run by all the belts. You have a boring mill. I mean, it doesn't look too boring. Looks pretty interesting. And you got a belt going to drive shafts all in the ceiling. Got a drill press for drilling things. That also has a belt. You then have a bunch of parts. Look at all these parts, all these bits. And that's a big wrench. Look at that big wrench. That's a massive wrench. Caps and gears. Oh, look at that. There's an air pump. There's an air compressor pump. Drill bits. Got some stuff over here. Oh, spare belts. Spare belts. Here's the lathe. And then you have bigger lathe. Large engine. And then you got another lathe over here. Machinery. What's this machine? Some sort of plate maker, maybe? Fine board is.
Well, there's been a couple pictures where there's a very famous picture of one.
That's a lathe, brake cylinder. Oh, look, here's the steam engine. Here's the engine that ran the whole thing. Look at that. Yeah, so here's the fire doors for the boiler. So you'd shovel the coal in there. And I'm guessing the coal would probably be over here, maybe. And then you got, yeah, look, you got shovels and stuff to shovel coal.
Shovel is destroyed.
I'm guessing this is, yeah, the grate shaker. And, yeah. Very cool. There's the pressure gauge. That belt to that shaft that runs everything here. And they got some locomotives. That's the one that's broken. So number 16 that you guys saw in there was the one that they were hoping to have running by September, but it's still being worked on. So I'll get to ride on a steam train eventually someday, but yeah, they're still working on that one. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's the end of the tour. That was really cool looking at that machine shop. As you can see, we also have like a shaft that goes under the ground here that goes to this other workshop, and like everything is just powered by that one steam engine in there that you guys saw. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get some lunch, and then yeah, gonna go ahead and ride on the train.
Over here, you got the only crane on this property.
Holy jeez, Thor.
Blacksmith.
That's Thor. I know.
Yeah.
Anybody know what that is?
Link.
Hunk of iron.
Very good.
Pig iron.
No, it's a link. This is how they would couple rail cars together at one point in time. It's called a link and pin coupler. This would go in, one end would go into the car, one car, and a pin would drop down through here. You push it into the other side into another car and put a pin down through here, and the two cars are linked together. So when they hooked it up, you had to have a guy standing in between the two cars. And usually, you can always tell someone who did this for a living because they always looked like this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? In fact, there were railroads that had hiring sessions. And you'd go into a hiring session, they'd be talking to a group of people, and they say, okay, hold up your hand. And if it looked like that, you got hired because you were experienced.
The third way was in that other building where you could take that metal without heating it up totally and change it into some shape that you could use. So there was
Yeah, that's the foundry furnace. So they'll melt it down and mold it.
here was an oven where after they made the mold.
We got two types of fuel here, coal and then diesel.
Yeah, I'm not sure because we use a different one for the M1. Well, it's gasoline, so I'm guessing that is diesel because I think they fuel the M7 and these two little.
Yeah, the little shunter that's pulling today's train. Very cool.
And that's got two Detroits. Back in the 19th century, most switches were like this. This is called a stub switch.
Yeah.
Problem with the stub switch is all you got holding it in place is that notch in that quadrant right there. So they had a tendency to move.
Yeah.
So the railroads, the ICC back in that day, they decided, okay, we're not going to allow you to have those switches on mainline tracks.
Okay, let's get in front of the train and get a picture.
Okay, number 12. I think this is, I'm not sure what valve gear this is. It might be Southern
Colton, what grade
valve
are you
gear.
in this year? Ooh.
All these rods and stuff go to linkages in the cab, and this is how the train decides whether to go forwards or backwards based on the position of this link right here.
Okay.
Got pipe there. I guess it's like blow down. Take a look in the cab. Not a lot of room in there. We got the cab, the mid
Look at
cab.
that. You get to see it.
Yeah, cool.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's probably cool.
What, baby?
That's what they use for fuel. It's cool. Just like a dynamometer car, maybe? Not sure. Got a big old tank. Got a big old tank car. And then a bunch of coal wagons. Lots of coal. And then coal, obviously coal on the engine for running it. Time to get on the train! Alrighty, so we are now on the train. It is set to depart in about 10 minutes. So, we're ready. You guys ready?
We're ready.
Yep.
Yep. We're ready. They're ready.
They got the furnace. The furnace. The furnace. We're underway. The pretty views. Choo choo. Bales. We got bales. Field full of bales. They're all hay. Going through a big old cut. Basically, they had to cut the terrain out there. Cut. The road could have gone over that, but a train can't. As you can see, the road did go over that. There's no cut over there on the road. Road slopes down. It slopes up. Train can. Got some silage bunkers. Oh yeah, we're wiring it. We're wiring it. Wiring it. They're turning it around. They're turning around. Three honks reverse. You can hear the carts screaming. They can go backwards. They can go backwards.
Before they didn't have
They just can't turn without assistance.
and before they didn't have brakes, so they would have to go backwards in order to stop.
Yeah, they have to go backwards in order to stop. Yeah, I can see the cars coming up. Yeah. You're basically doing a three-point turn. It's like you would do a three-point turn in a truck. That's what the train's doing. But there had to be rails built in order for the train to do that. Two honks forward. Two honks means they're going forward. Three honks means reverse, and then they blow for crossings and stuff.
I come from, went through Gettysburg. Yeah.
Flip the switch. Spare rails. Spares. I bet these are some of the people that volunteer camping out there. Some of the volunteers. Look at that field of corn. Corn pulleys. See the two big cylinders there? Maybe. I feel like they gotta turn around again. Bye, 12! Look at that, it's like all rotted through. That's gonna take a little while to repair. Look at the cars behind us, they're like turning. You can see the back of the train turning.
Those cars, they're like wood.
They said that was where they unloaded the cars, up in that shed up there. Yeah, so they would park a coal hopper up top, and then the pipe, and then pipe out to the train. Yeah. And back forward. We don't need coal because we're a diesel. Fire truck. There's my little diesel. And now we're pulling into station. Pulling back into station. This is so cool. Oh, I got some old stuff. Bunch of old stuff here. Cables and stuff. Locomotive parts. Rail car parts. Parts for a crane. Okay, this is like the main part of the trolley museum, I think.
Yeah.
Museum store. Okay, this is the trolley side. Look at this caboose. And they got some more trolleys. There's like a metro. More trolleys and caboose. Yeah, they've restored it.
Might be able to go in.
I think you can walk around here. Yeah, this is like where they work on them. Look at that. And to finish up today, we also got tickets for the trolley. So we're gonna go ahead and take a ride on this. And yeah, should be fun. I'm gonna sit up front. You wanna sit up front?
It don't make no difference to me, baby. Wherever you want to sit. Coaching got me to sit. They got some old signs, don't they? Butternut bread. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Dispatch. Dispatch.
There you go.
Dispatch the ticket booth. What's going on here?
When Wayne Gill was a baby, the guy hit another Charlie going right off the chain. What's going on? Yeah, you couldn't see up there, folks, but I didn't think about that.
Well, that's the end of the line right there. Oh, there's a switch. But there's no... Here, I got your receipt. Alright, there we go. Now we're going this way.
You think a picture of that? The water?
Yeah, the water's so pretty. Look at that water. Alright, let's go this way. Alright, there we go. Now we're going this way. You think a picture of that? The water? Yeah, the water's so pretty. Look at that water. Yeah, the water's so pretty. Look at that water. Alright, there we go. Alrighty, so that was the trolley ride, and the image that was shown at the end was for the old Rockhill Furnace that used to be here. It was an old iron works that would take raw iron and then smelt it into pig iron, and the East Broad Top was built to supply the smelter with coal and then to also take the iron, or the pig iron, which is what they used to use until steel was invented. So yeah, all these rails are obviously, they're not steel, they're pig iron. That's what they used to use. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like. Subscribe for new videos. Have a great day, rest of your day. And I'll see you guys later. A brake shoe. Oh my god. That's heavy. That's a heavy.